Sebastian pushed through the heavy glass doors of the hotel. His daughter, small and sleepy, clung to his hand. The lobby gleamed with marble and gold. He felt out of place in his wrinkled shirt and tired eyes. The woman behind the desk looked up. Her smile vanished the moment she saw them. "We need a room," Sebastian said quietly. She glanced at his daughter, then back at him. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Do you have a reservation?" "No, but—" "I'm sorry. We're fully booked." Sebastian knew that wasn't true. He could see the vacancy board behind her shoulder. Sebastian felt his daughter's hand tighten around his fingers. She was too young to understand the coldness in the woman's voice, but she felt it anyway. "Please," he said. "We've been traveling all day. My daughter needs rest." The manager appeared from a back office. His suit was perfectly pressed. His expression was stone. "Is there a problem here?" The desk clerk leaned toward him. She whispered something Sebastian couldn't hear. The manager's eyes swept over Sebastian's appearance. The rumpled clothes, the scuffed shoes, the exhaustion written across his face. "Sir, this is a 5-star establishment. We have certain standards." Sebastian's jaw tightened. He could feel anger rising in his chest like a wave. One word from him, and this man's career would be over. One phone call, and everything would change. But his daughter was watching. She looked up at him with those wide, trusting eyes. Eyes that believed her father could fix anything. Eyes that didn't yet understand how cruel the world could be. He wouldn't make a scene in front of her. He wouldn't let her see him use power to crush someone, no matter how much they deserved it. "I understand," Sebastian said softly. The manager nodded, already dismissing them, already turning away. What neither of them knew was the truth that burned inside Sebastian's chest. The truth he swallowed down with his pride. He owned this hotel. Every marble tile beneath their feet. Every chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Every room they claimed was unavailable. Sebastian had built this place from nothing. He'd worked 18-hour days. He'd poured his heart and his fortune into creating something beautiful. A sanctuary where travelers would feel welcomed and valued. He'd been away for 3 months. 3 months helping his daughter through the loss of her mother. 3 months putting family before business. 3 months healing in private while grief tried to swallow them both. And now he'd returned to find his staff treating guests like this. Near the concierge desk, a young woman in a hotel uniform stood frozen. Her name tag read Isabel. She'd been sorting mail when Sebastian walked in. She'd heard everything. Her face had gone pale. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched an envelope. Isabel had only worked here for 6 months. She was new enough to remember what it felt like to be judged, to be dismissed, to feel invisible. She watched the manager's back as he walked away. She watched Sebastian gather his daughter closer. She watched a little girl's face crumple with confusion and fatigue. Something twisted in Isabel's stomach. This wasn't right. This wasn't why she'd taken this job. She believed in what the hotel represented. Luxury, yes, but also hospitality. Warmth. Welcome. Not this. Never this. Sebastian lifted his daughter into his arms. She buried her face against his shoulder. He turned toward the door, carrying the weight of her trust and his silence. Isabel made a decision. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She could lose her job for this. The manager had made it clear they didn't question his judgment. They didn't interfere. But she couldn't watch them leave. She couldn't be part of this cruelty. She set down the mail and stepped out from behind the desk. Her legs felt unsteady. Her voice would probably shake. But she had to try. If you've ever been judged for how you look instead of who you are, hit that like button. This story is about to take a turn you won't see coming. Sebastian reached the door. The night air outside looked cold and dark. His daughter was already half asleep in his arms. He had no idea where they'd go next. Behind him, Isabel took a breath. She called out softly, "Sir, wait, please." Sebastian stopped. He didn't turn around immediately. He was so tired of being seen as less than. So tired of fighting. But something in her voice was different. Something genuine. He turned. Their eyes met across the lobby. And in that moment, neither of them knew how completely their lives were about to change. Isabel followed Sebastian outside into the cool night air. Her heart raced with every step. She'd never done anything like this before. Never risked her job for a stranger. But something about the way he'd held his daughter broke her heart wide open. "Sir," she called softly. Sebastian turned. His daughter's head rested against his shoulder, her small fingers curled around his jacket collar. He looked exhausted, defeated. But when he saw Isabel, his expression softened with surprise. "I'm sorry," Isabel said. The words tumbled out quickly before she lost her courage. What happened in there wasn't right. It wasn't who we're supposed to be. Sebastian studied her face. In the glow of the hotel's entrance lights, he could see sincerity in her dark eyes. No judgment, no calculation, just genuine concern. It's not your fault, he said quietly. But it is. Isabel wrapped her arms around herself. The night was colder than she'd expected. I work here. I represent this place. And I stood there and let it happen. His daughter stirred in his arms. She mumbled something sleepy and unconscious. Sebastian adjusted his hold, his movements gentle and practiced. Isabel watched the tenderness in his touch. She thought of her own child, asleep at her mother's house. The ache of working nights and missing bedtime stories. The exhaustion of doing it all alone. How old is she? Isabel asked. 5. Sebastian's voice was soft. Her name is Sophia. She's beautiful. Sebastian looked down at his daughter's face. Even in sleep, she looked vulnerable. Trusting. He'd been her whole world since her mother died. The weight of that responsibility pressed against his chest every single day. Listen, Isabel said, stepping closer. There's a small inn about 10 minutes from here. The Rosewood. It's not fancy, but it's clean and safe. The owner is kind. She has children of her own. Sebastian's eyes met hers. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Isabel pulled out her phone. Let me call them. Tell them you're coming. They'll take good care of you both. Something shifted in Sebastian's chest. When was the last time someone had shown him kindness without wanting something in return? When was the last time someone had seen him as simply a father trying to do his best? He watched Isabel dial the number. Watched her speak quietly to someone on the other end. Watched her negotiate a fair rate and give directions. She was beautiful, but it wasn't just her appearance that drew him. It was the light in her eyes, the warmth in her voice. All set, she said, ending the call. Mrs. Chun will be waiting for you. She'll have hot chocolate ready for Sophia when she wakes up. Sebastian felt something tight in his throat. Gratitude, relief, and something else he couldn't quite name. I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to. Isabel smiled, and it transformed her entire face. Just take care of your little girl. She's lucky to have you. Their eyes held for a moment longer than necessary. Something passed between them. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. Two people who knew what it meant to carry the world on their shoulders. Sebastian shifted Sophia's weight. I'm Sebastian, by the way. Isabel. Isabel. He repeated her name like he was testing how it felt. Thank you, Isabel. She watched him walk to his car. Watched him settle Sophia carefully in her car seat. Watched him look back once before driving away. Her chest felt warm despite the cold night air. She'd done the right thing. She'd chosen kindness over keeping quiet. What she didn't know was that she'd just helped the most important man in her professional life. And what Sebastian didn't know was that he'd just met the woman who would change everything. If you believe in the power of small acts of kindness, subscribe to see what happens when these two souls meet again. Sometimes the most beautiful connections start with the simplest gestures. The night was full of possibilities neither of them could imagine. 3 days later, Sebastian returned to the hotel. But this time, he came alone. Sophia was safe with his sister, finally getting the stability she needed after their long journey. He sat in the coffee shop across the street, his laptop open, his eyes watching. He needed to understand what was happening in his own business. How many other guests had been treated like he was? How long had this been going on? The morning rush brought waves of travelers through the lobby. Sebastian studied each interaction. Most went smoothly. The staff smiled. They helped with luggage. They answered questions. But not everyone got the same treatment. He watched a young mother with 2 small children get barely a glance from the front desk. He saw an elderly man in simple clothes get directed to the cheapest room without being offered alternatives. His heart sank with each observation. Then Isabel walked into view. She moved differently than the others. When she helped guests, she looked them in the eye. She smiled like she meant it. She took extra time with children, kneeling down to their level. Sebastian found himself watching her more than the others. During her break, Isabel crossed the street to the same coffee shop. Sebastian's pulse quickened. He could pretend it was coincidence. He could stay hidden behind his laptop screen. Instead, he closed the computer and approached her table. Isabel. She looked up from her book. Surprise flickered across her face, then pleasure. Sebastian, what are you doing here? Business meeting nearby, he said. It wasn't entirely a lie. Mind if I join you? Please. She gestured to the empty chair. They talked easily. About coffee. About books. About the neighborhood. Sebastian found himself relaxed for the first time in months. Her laugh was music. Her intelligence was captivating. "How's Sophia?" Isabel asked. "Better. She's staying with my sister for a few days. Getting spoiled with attention and home-cooked meals." "And how are you doing?" The question caught him off guard. When was the last time someone had asked about him? Not his business. Not his plans. Just him. "Some days are harder than others," he admitted. Isabel nodded. Understanding filled her eyes. "I know that feeling," she said quietly. "I have a son. Alex. He's 7. Some days I feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water." Sebastian's chest tightened. Another single parent. Another person carrying the weight alone. Where's his father? The question slipped out before he could stop it. Gone since Alex was 2. Said parenthood wasn't what he expected. Her voice stayed steady, but Sebastian caught the flash of old pain. Turns out, love isn't always enough to make someone stay. Sebastian wanted to reach across the table, to tell her that any man who could walk away from her and her child was a fool. "I'm sorry," he said instead. "Don't be. We're better off. Stronger." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Alex is the best thing that ever happened to me. I wouldn't change that for anything." They sat in comfortable silence. Two people who understood the particular exhaustion of solo parenting. The weight of being everything to a small human. "What about Sophia's mother?" Isabel asked gently. "Cancer," Sebastian said. The word still felt sharp in his throat. 8 months ago. Isabel's hand moved toward his across the table. She stopped just short of touching him. "I'm so sorry." Sebastian looked at her hand. So close to his. He wanted to close that distance. Wanted to feel connected to someone who understood. But guilt held him back. Not just about his wife. About the lie he was living. About sitting here as Sebastian the father when he was really Sebastian the owner of the hotel that employed her. Comment below if you've ever felt torn between protecting your heart and opening it to someone new. This connection is about to face its biggest test. Every day, their paths crossed. Every conversation drew them closer. And every moment made Sebastian's secret feel heavier. He was falling for her. But how could he tell her the truth without destroying everything they'd built? 2 weeks into their quiet coffee shop meetings, Sebastian arrived early to watch the morning shift. He'd grown to cherish these moments with Isabel. But today felt different. Heavy with unspoken words and growing feelings. Through the glass, he saw a young woman approach the front desk. She carried a baby in her arms and held a toddler's hand. Her clothes were clean but worn. Her face showed the exhaustion Sebastian recognized too well. The same manager who denied Sebastian stood behind the desk. His expression hardened the moment he saw the woman. Sebastian's jaw clenched. He moved closer to the window. "I need a room," the woman said softly. "Just for one night. My car broke down and—" "Do you have a reservation?" The manager's voice carried through the lobby. "No, but I can pay. I have cash." She shifted the baby to one arm and reached for her purse. The manager looked her up and down. His distaste was obvious. "Ma'am, this establishment has strict policies. Without a reservation and proper identification, I can't." "I have my driver's license," she interrupted. Desperation crept into her voice. "Please. My children are tired. We just need somewhere safe to sleep." Sebastian watched the scene unfold with growing anger. History was repeating itself, right under his nose. But this time, someone else was watching too. Isabel had been arranging flowers at the concierge desk. She'd heard every word. Sebastian saw her hands still, saw her shoulders straighten. "Actually," Isabel's voice rang clear across the lobby. "We do have availability." The manager whirled around. "Miss Rivera, this doesn't concern you. It concerns all of us." Isabel stepped forward. Her voice was steady, but Sebastian could see her hands shaking. "This is a mother with children. They need help. We have policies," the manager snapped. "We have humanity," Isabel shot back. The lobby fell silent. Other guests turned to watch. Staff members froze at their stations. Sebastian's heart pounded. She was risking everything. For a stranger. For what was right. "Miss Rivera," the manager's voice was ice. "Return to your duties or find other employment." Isabel lifted her chin. "Then I guess I'll find other employment." She turned to the woman. "Ma'am, there's a wonderful in 10 minutes from here. The owner will take excellent care of you and your children." Sebastian couldn't watch anymore. Couldn't let Isabel sacrifice her job for his failed leadership. Couldn't hide behind his grief and his anonymity while good people suffered for his cowardice. He pushed through the hotel doors. The manager was already reaching for his phone, probably calling security, probably preparing to have Isabel escorted out. "Stop," Sebastian said. His voice carried across the marble floor. Everyone turned. The manager's eyes narrowed with recognition and confusion. "Sir, if you're here about the other night, I already explained." "You explained nothing." Sebastian walked to the center of the lobby. "You humiliated a father and his daughter. And now you're doing it again." Isabel stared at him. Something flickered in her eyes. Fear, maybe. Confusion. "Sir, I'm calling security," the manager said. "No," Sebastian said quietly. "You're not." He looked around the lobby. At the staff. At the guests. At Isabel's pale face. His next words would change everything. "My name is Sebastian Wilde. I am the owner of this hotel." The silence was deafening. The manager's face went white. The woman with the children gasped. Staff members stood frozen in shock. But it was Isabel's reaction that cut deepest. The color drained from her face. Her eyes filled with something that looked like betrayal. Sebastian's heart shattered as he watched understanding dawn in her expression. He wasn't just Sebastian, the single father. He was Sebastian, the man who'd been watching her, testing her, playing a game while she'd been living her truth. Like this story? Subscribe to see how trust can be rebuilt when it's broken into a million pieces. Sometimes the biggest revelations hurt the people we care about most. The lobby erupted in whispers, but all Sebastian could see was Isabel's face. All he could feel was the weight of his choices crashing down around them, both that Sebastian's words hung in the air like shattered glass. The lobby had never been so quiet. Even the grandfather clock seemed to hold its breath. The manager's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "Mr. Wilde? But you can't be." "I can. And I am." Sebastian's voice was steel. "You're fired. Clear out your office. Security will escort you out." The manager's face crumpled. "Sir, please. I was just following protocol." "Protocol?" Sebastian stepped closer. "Protocol is kindness. Protocol is treating every guest with dignity. Protocol is remembering that everyone who walks through those doors deserves respect." He turned to address the entire lobby. Guests, staff, everyone who'd witnessed the scene. This hotel was built on a simple promise: that every person who enters feels valued, seen, welcome. His voice cracked slightly. "We failed that promise. I failed that promise." The woman with the children still stood near the desk. Her baby had started to fuss. Her toddler clung to her leg. Sebastian walked to her. His voice gentled. "Ma'am, please accept our sincerest apologies. We have a beautiful suite available. No charge. For as long as you need." Tears filled her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Sebastian nodded to the nearest staff member. "Please take care of our guest. Give her family anything they need." The crowd began to disperse. Whispers followed in their wake. Sebastian had bigger problems than gossip. He had a broken trust to face. He turned to find Isabel. She stood frozen by the concierge desk. Her hands gripped the edge of the marble counter. Her knuckles were white. Sebastian approached slowly, like she was a wounded animal that might bolt. "Isabel, don't." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Just don't. Please let me explain." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Only pain. "Explain what? That you've been lying to me for 2 weeks? That every conversation was a test? That I was just entertainment for the bored billionaire? It wasn't like that, wasn't it?" She finally looked at him. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You sat there and let me tell you about my struggles. About working here to support my son. About how grateful I was for this job." Sebastian's chest felt tight. "I never meant. You let me feel sorry for you," she continued. Her voice grew stronger with each word. "Poor Sebastian, turned away from a hotel. Poor Sebastian, just trying to find a place to sleep with his daughter. I was turned away. That part was real. But you could have fixed it with a word." The tears came now. She didn't bother to wipe them away. "You could have said who you were. Instead, you watched me risk my job for you. You watched me care about you." The word care hit Sebastian like a physical blow. Because he'd cared too. More than cared. "I wanted you to know me as Sebastian. Not as the owner. Not as someone with power. You are the owner," she said. "You do have power. Over my job. Over my life. And you let me forget that." Sebastian reached toward her. She stepped back. "I opened my heart to you," she whispered. "I told you things I don't tell anyone. About Alex. About his father. About being alone." "You're not alone," Sebastian said desperately. "You don't have to be alone. I was never alone by choice. Isabel said. I was alone because the people I trusted left. Or lied. Or turned out to be something completely different than what I thought. She grabbed her purse from behind the desk. Her hands shook as she gathered her things. Where are you going? Home. To my son. To people who don't play games with my heart. Sebastian felt panic rising in his throat. Isabel, please. What we had was real. My feelings are real. She stopped. For a moment, hope flickered in Sebastian's chest. Were they? She asked softly. Because I don't know what's real anymore. She walked toward the elevator. Each step felt like another nail in Sebastian's coffin. If you've ever had your trust broken by someone you were falling for, share this story. Sometimes the truth comes too late to save what matters most. Sebastian stood alone in his lobby, surrounded by marble and gold and everything he'd built. And he'd never felt more empty in his life. 3 weeks passed like an eternity. Sebastian threw himself into changing everything at the hotel. New policies, mandatory training on dignity and respect, a guest advocate program where any traveler could report unfair treatment. But every change felt hollow without Isabel. He'd called. She wouldn't answer. He'd sent flowers to her apartment. She'd returned them untouched. He'd even tried reaching out through mutual acquaintances at the hotel. Nothing. Sebastian stared out his office window at the coffee shop below. The table where they'd shared their souls sat empty. Like his chest felt empty. His assistant knocked. Mr. Wilde? There's someone here to see you. Sebastian looked up. Through his office door, he saw a small boy with dark hair and curious eyes. Alex. Sebastian breathed. Behind Alex stood Isabel. She looked tired. Beautiful. Guarded. Hello, Sebastian. Sebastian's heart hammered against his ribs. How did you? Your sister gave me your office number. I called her. Elena told you where to find me. I told her I needed to talk to you. Isabel's voice was careful, controlled. About Alex. Sebastian looked at the boy. Alex was examining the office with 7-year-old intensity, taking in the awards on the walls, the photos of hotels around the world. Alex wanted to meet the man his mom couldn't stop talking about. Isabel continued. Sebastian's chest fluttered with hope. You talked about me? I told him about the nice man who helped us, who made me believe in kindness again. Her eyes were soft but sad. Before I found out who you really were. Alex stepped forward. Are you the one who made my mom cry? The question hit Sebastian like a punch. Alex, Mom said you lied to her, that you pretended to be someone else. Sebastian knelt down to Alex's eye level. Your mom is right. I did lie, and lying hurt someone I care about very much. Alex studied his face. Why did you lie? Sebastian glanced at Isabel. She nodded slightly. Permission to be honest with her son. Because sometimes grown-ups are scared, Sebastian said. I was scared your mom would treat me differently if she knew I owned a big hotel. I wanted her to like me for who I am inside. But lying is wrong, Alex said. Yes, it is. And I'm very sorry. Alex considered this. Mom says sorry doesn't always fix things. Sebastian's throat tightened. Your mom is very smart. Are you sorry to her too? Sebastian looked at Isabel. Really looked at her. Saw the pain he'd caused. The walls he'd helped build around her heart. I'm more sorry than I know how to say. Isabel's eyes filled with tears. Sebastian, I know sorry isn't enough, Sebastian said quickly. I know I broke your trust. I know I hurt you. He stood, faced her fully. But I also know that what I felt for you was real. Is real. Every conversation, every laugh, every moment you shared your fears with me. How can I trust that? She whispered. How can I trust anything you say now? Sebastian's heart broke all over again. Because I'm telling you the truth now. All of it. He took a shaky breath. I'm terrified of being a single father. I wake up every day afraid I'm failing Sophia. I lie awake wondering if I'll ever be enough for her. Isabel's expression softened slightly. I'm terrified of letting someone into our life who might leave, who might break her heart the way her mother's death broke mine. His voice cracked. And I'm terrified of falling in love with someone who deserves so much better than a man who lies when he's scared. Tears spilled down Isabel's cheeks. I don't want better, she said softly. I want real. I want honest. I want someone who chooses to stay. I'm choosing to stay, Sebastian said. I'm choosing to be honest. Even when it's scary. Isabel looked at her son. What do you think, baby? Alex looked between them. I think he's sorry. And I think you like him. A lot. Isabel laughed through her tears. You're too smart for your own good. She looked back at Sebastian. If we try this again, it has to be different. Complete honesty. Always. Always, Sebastian promised. And you have to meet Alex properly. And Sophia has to approve of me. Sebastian's smile felt like sunrise. Deal. If you believe second chances can lead to the most beautiful love stories, like and subscribe. Sometimes the best relationships are built on truth, forgiveness, and the courage to try again. 6 months later, Sebastian and Isabel stood in the hotel lobby where it all began. Not as owner and employee, not as strangers helping each other, but as partners, parents, two people who'd chosen honesty over fear, and love over everything else.